Welcome to Awakening You channel. If you appreciate what we do, please support us. Thank you. Dear ones, I am Archangel Michael. Continuing our story about the soul. So, you already know that the soul separates itself, precisely with the objective of evolving, of being able to reach the highest dimensions. I believe this is a curiosity for many, if souls are created all the time. I'm not going to say every day, because days is a concept you have here, of time. So I tell you this, the universe continues to expand. Imagine, it is as if the universe were breathing, with each inhalation, it gains strength, and when it exhales, it expands a little more. So yes, new planets, new stars are needed to fill this universe, because a huge, empty universe would not make any sense. For what? So yes, there is the creation of new stars. And as new stars are created, new planets, new souls are also created. Understand the following, everything is evolution, everything has a journey. So we can say that the souls that are created today already have certain aspects that they did not have many years and millennia ago. Yes, the matrix has also evolved, your planet has evolved, and the whole universe too. Everyone moves forward. This is the trend, moving forward. So we need souls increasingly prepared for what awaits them. So the souls too, are born today, a little more evolved than they were born some time ago, that is, everything is in revolution, nothing is still. I understand that for you, certain information is not yet fully consolidated in your minds, because, as I have said here several times, you have a tendency to dimensionalize everything that you do not understand. What I mean? You transform this into an image, so that you can hold on to that as the representation of what I say. So, often the things I talk about here, you can't transform into an image, because they are really quite complex things for your mind yet. But you will understand. I want to believe, that today you already have a much broader idea than you ever had, because a lot is being passed on, and you have assimilated it, the vast majority have assimilated it. Very good then. Let's think, our objective here, I talked a little about sacred symbology and I will talk about it again, in some other aspects, but the focus here today is soul. So, as has already been said, the soul is created and is prepared to live at a certain point, at a specific location in the universe. When does the soul subdivide? At the moment of your birth. There, the soul becomes aware, which is the superior self itself, it is the great consciousness of the soul, and from there he makes the choices he wants to make, for that energy that has just been created. No, the higher self is not a soul that incarnates in another soul, he is created, he appears as the consciousness of the soul that was created. So each soul has its higher self. Today, as I said a moment ago, due to the evolution of times, each higher self comes with a characteristic, because this was also being improved by our Father and Mother God, so that increasingly complete, increasingly prepared beings are generated. So, when the higher self becomes aware that it is the higher self, it makes the decision of where each piece of that energy that it is composed of will survive. And so, it's as if every little piece had a little Merkaba that took it to other places. And each piece starts to live at a point in the universe. Many have asked themselves, how many pieces is a soul divided into? I have already told you, my brothers, that nothing is closed, nothing exists as a rule. Yes, a soul can be subdivided into up to 12 pieces, but this is not a rule, it is a decision of the higher self. If he thinks that soul should be subdivided into just 2 pieces, he will decide that. There is no imposition, there is no definition. There is a limit. Only that. Now in how many pieces, the higher self knows. And halfway through, for example, the higher self defines that there will be 3 pieces, and then as that soul evolves, it thinks it could be more. Can it be further subdivided? Yes, you can. He has this power all the time. So if he finds it convenient for that soul to subdivide itself a little more, he will do so, without detriment to the energy of any other that is already divided. That's what I tell you, these are concepts that are complicated for you to understand, but that's what happens. Then, the souls are subdivided, and each one lands in a certain place, to live there, to start your journey, to initiate all those aspects of that environment, because the environment makes the soul. I had said that every soul needs to pass through the lower dimensions, and this is what happens. All souls always start in the lowest dimensions, so that they can live with all the feelings inherent in those dimensions. It is the learning of the soul. But not all means, the first dimensions, are identical, some are more inferior, let's say, and others not so much. Then everything will be up to the decision of the higher self, of what is interesting for that soul to go through. And so the soul continues its journey. Each one in their own way. And so that you can draw a parallel with what you know, each one is a spirit. Okay, let's understand it this way, that each piece of the soul that is incarnated is a spirit that is there, a piece of that soul. So, when the time comes for that soul to take on a guise, it will take on the guise of the planet, of the astro where it is. So what does that soul decide at this moment? There is a large council, which organizes. Nothing is messy. Imagine if all souls decided to incarnate, each one in their own way? No, there is an organization there. Then the karmic council analyzes that soul, it's like a big interview. I need to put things the way you understand. So let's say you do an interview. Well, what do you want to go through in this incarnation? Where do you want to incarnate? How do you want to incarnate? In a small family, in a large family, don't you want to have a family? No, he wants to have a family, in the sense of being born and not having any ties with those who gave birth to him. This is perfectly possible. So the soul there defines what it wants to go through. But where does Alma get these ideas about what she wants to convey? Think about this, when it is the first time, the first incarnation of the soul, it has no idea of anything, she knows all the suffering she went through in the first dimensions. So she already brings a lot from there, and she is aware that she doesn't want to repeat what she went through there. So she asks not to go through those problems anymore, and makes some choices. It really is like a choice in the dark. And everything the soul asks for is respected. Of course, the council often advises her not to take certain actions, but for the first time, it is very complicated, even explaining something that she has never experienced. Very good. The soul incarnates. She comes to the planet or the star, and lives in the time of that outfit she wore. I'm not talking about souls here on Earth, I'm talking about souls in the global sense. So the soul seeks to fulfill everything it had defined before, seeks to follow the path she traced. It's as if she had written a script for a film, and everything she defined, she tries to fulfill according to the medium. Often the environment does not allow her to faithfully fulfill what she determined for that incarnation. She dreamed of being a very rich, very powerful soul, and the environment did not allow that to happen. This is an example. So she gets very upset, and in the next incarnation, she comes with much more desire to achieve that. Understand, she is not stepping on anyone to be rich, to be powerful, she doesn't want to hurt anyone, she just wants to have power. You can be powerful, and powerful for good. Why not? You can have power of influence, power of creation, you can have various powers, as long as you do not hurt or affect others, there is no problem with that. Then she continues the journey to be a powerful soul, and so she goes on incarnating, disincarnating, incarnating, disincarnating, fulfilling this mission. And with each incarnation she learns some lessons. And then the next time, when sitting with the council again, she says, I don't want to repeat that again, but then the council says, but what action did you take? Did you learn that lesson? Then Alma responds, yeah, I don't think I learned. Then you have to go through it again, until you learn your lesson. So this is a concept that many of you understand as karma. We don't understand how we can even use the word karma, but not as a punishment, as something that you have to get back because you did that and you are being punished. It's not that. It's just a point of evolution, because if that lesson wasn't learned, that lesson will come back, you will repeat it, as many times as necessary, so that you learn it and evolve. And who determines these lessons? How are these lessons we have to learn determined? All souls have to follow a script. Let's put it this way, a basic script in which everyone has to go through each of those situations, which are the great lessons of evolution. So, in addition to the small, day-to-day lessons of action and reaction that you have to learn, you have this basic script that all souls have to follow. And with each incarnation, your soul is accompanied through the Akashic records, in the fulfillment of these points of evolution. Then, through the monitoring of the soul, carried out by the Akashic Masters, they inform exactly the points that have already been completed, the lessons that have already been learned. And then new lessons appear. All are on the path of the soul. With each completed one, a new one appears. And so is the evolution of the soul. The certainty of compliance with those lessons does not exist. The soul may spend an entire incarnation and not fulfill any lesson, but it is aware that it has to fulfill that lesson, and in the next incarnation, she returns even more committed to fulfilling that, and usually succeeds. So this is the evolution of a soul, normally speaking. Now let's bring this soul here, to planet Earth. At the beginning of time, everything happened this way. You remembered your previous incarnations exactly, without any problem. But realize this, you were already evolved souls, so you didn't have that many lessons to remember, you only had new lessons, which were ready and were appearing for you to evolve more and more. It is worth noting that these lessons have levels. So let's say, that when you complete all the lessons of a certain level or dimension, you are ready for a big test, and evolve to a higher dimension. If you fail, you stay where you are. My brothers, I try to put things in a way that you understand, as if it were in your world, as if it were in your everyday life, so that you can understand how things happen. Of course, nothing is that simple. I need to speak in general terms, but I think this way you can understand. So back when there was the domination of the dark here, on this planet, in which you regressed to the third dimension, what would happen to your souls? You would disincarnate, and when you incarnate you would remember what happened, you would remember the fall you had. And what would you do? In a normal environment, you would all seek to change this, they would try not to repeat those mistakes to continue their journey of evolution, and take the planet out of a dimension that you fell into and didn't ask to fall into. At first you didn't ask, it wasn't your soul's goal to descend from the dimension. It happened. So what would happen when you all disembodied and were incarnated again? You would modify this medium, the environment would end up no longer making sense the way it was, and then the dark ones would lose their power. So I needed something to be done, I needed them to control the memory of souls. They couldn't allow you to remember what had happened. Very good. Which dimension is above the third? The fourth, and it is an ethereal dimension, as I already said here. So they started to use this dimension as if it were a chamber of oblivion for souls. So, when you disembodied, you were taken to this dimension, and there the entire process of disincarnation, everything was done, naturally, everything happened as normal for a soul. Think about this, I already said it here, the beings of light were there all the time, but do you remember that I said that our Father or Mother God decided that this would be a school planet? So it was also necessary to maintain this third-dimensional environment. So there was I'm not going to talk about an agreement, because no agreement was made with the Dark Ones, but what happened is that the souls that resonated good feelings, were brought to us, to the beings of light. As I told you here, it was as if the fourth dimension had two layers, an upper one, which was the layer of light souls, and a lower layer, where the non-light souls were. So this happened, all the time. The souls of light were brought to the illuminated layer, and you were treated like all other souls, you were analyzed by the Karmic Council, you were reminded of mistakes you had made, and guided on what you should do in the next incarnation. Exactly, like the rest of the universe. But, what happened? When you reincarnated, that process of remembering what had happened was modified, so that you remained on the wheel of samsara, always believing that you had to reincarnate to accomplish things that you had not yet accomplished, as if you didn't remember anything. So, you repeated the same mistakes every time. So there was no evolution. You disembodied, you were evolved by us, but when you returned to the planet's atmosphere, you forgot everything, through the entire process that was done for them, so that you remained forgotten, remained without remembering what you had done. Many may wonder, but couldn't you do anything? If we did something, the third dimension would end. And then I repeat again, this planet has become a school planet. So many think that we were complicit in this entire process. I wouldn't use that word, because good never colludes with evil. Understand the following: if you don't understand, I'll repeat, each time the souls disembodied they were brought to the upper part of the fourth dimension, if they were souls of light. So we continue fulfilling our role all the time. How have you evolved? Look what I said in the previous videos. Your world did not stand still. If we hadn't done anything, you would still be with pieces of wood in your hands hitting each other's heads, like in the Stone Age, you would still be like this. You wouldn't have evolved at all. So why did you evolve? Because we act, all the time. The planet did not stop, the souls did not stop, you have evolved. Look at your history books, what ancient civilizations were like and what you are today. Who developed you? Was it the Dark Ones? Obviously not. So all the work that was done on this planet was done by us. So our power has always been there. The only thing that the Dark Ones had there, control, was this forgetfulness of your souls, because it was the way to keep you in the third, because if you remembered, you would want to evolve, and you would definitely be able to. So the wheel of samsara was the way for the planet to remain a school planet. Very good. So the wheel of samsara was created for this, so that you would remain there in the third dimension. However, all souls have evolved, you evolved in intelligence, and to the world you have today, thanks to us, not in the dark. So, let's put it this way, what was their real participation in this whole process? Keep you inside this closed ball, which I mentioned, which was the grid created by them, so that there would not be, so that the energies of the central sun would not reach you, because if they reached you, you would also wake up. So this was closed and the wheel of samsara was created. And why did this all happen? For this planet to be a school planet, so that all these years that you lived, you could learn, the hard way, the lessons that you had not been able to learn when you passed through the lower dimensions. So you went back there to continue learning these lessons. But many souls came from this planet and are there too. But everything had a time, and this time is ending. And as they stayed in this domain for a long time, they do not accept losing it, but they knew that one day they would lose, because they knew that the planet, that their galaxy would be reaching the photon belt in a while. And there you are. And there's your planet getting ready to cleanse itself of all this. This planet, as I already said, will no longer be a school planet. There will be no more third dimension here. This planet will evolve, and will never return to the third dimension, because this is a decision of our Father or Mother God. So, those who arrive at the fifth end, for some reason, do not return to feelings that are not compatible, what will happen? I think you have already learned your lesson, you will be banned. No, this planet will not be allowed to descend to lower dimensions again. Gaia got tired. Gaia will now follow a different path, increasingly evolved. So my brothers, I hope that with today's video, you have understood a few more things, why certain things happened. Tomorrow we will talk more about incarnation. How are choices made? This is very interesting too. And you will see. I am Archangel Michael. I am here. As I said yesterday, more and more excited, because I want to pass this information on to all of you, and I really hope to be contributing to the evolution of each one.